Hey everybody, it's Commander Cloud. Welcome back to another Duel Tierlist update. Here we are in Season 7. It's been a couple weeks now, so I think it's time we go ahead and update the Duel Tierlist for the start of this season. Now, I'm not going to do what I've done before, which is just completely reset it and do a whole new tier list. Because the last time I did that on Season 6, it took almost an hour to do that video. It might have taken longer, and I do not have the patience or the stamina to talk for an hour straight. So we're going to do this the simple way, which is take it how it already is and go through tier by tier and see who needs to be moved. Alright. So, first off, obviously Scotty's still S+, but she is right now probably better than Chronos. Highest win rate in Duel, by the way. And despite that, these guys will still be ahead of her because the way they work and the way they can be played is going to be better than Scotty. Scotty has a little lower skill ceiling than the rest of these gods do. And these all should beat her in that sense. The problem with Scotty is the way her ult works and all that. She's very friendly to anybody to play, and practically anyone can win with this god, so that's where the pain with that is. I have not looked at S tier in a long time, have I? Oh boy. Let's see. Let's go through this one at a time. Obviously, Poseidon's probably the best god in S tier right now, I think, in my opinion. And Vulcan's gonna be up here somewhere. Kali's probably behind that. Then Anubis. You can go somewhere over here. I've seen the performance here. Merlin is getting a downgrade to S-, we'll say. He's behind Robin there. Should be a good spot for him. This god we haven't seen performing very well. Everyone found out he was a pretty vulnerable god, and without his 3-up, he's basically a free kill. And basically any of these gods up here can kill him without a lot of trouble. Erlang's not quite at the level he was before, so we're gonna drop him down. Honestly, I'll go S- on him too, just because performance hasn't been there lately with him. Unfortunate, really, for Erlang. But yeah, that's the thing. He's not picked very often. His performance has dwindled. And there's just a lot more options now from when he used to be good. So there's a lot more counterplay than there used to be. I would still say this is mostly correct up here, though. Nemesis has fallen off quite a bit, so she's gonna put her at the dead bottom of S-. The performance just is not there. If you play a decent god correctly against her, she's not going to do very much. So down to S-. Now the god that's getting a big upgrade here is going to be Camazotz. The buffs he had before have made him quite a bit stronger, and those buffs aren't being completely nerfed out. His performance has gone really nuts at the start of this season, and that's enough to put him up into S tier. He could potentially be even better than that, because in situations he could beat any of these gods up here. But with him, that's a more of a skill-based thing, and you have to be pretty good to be able to do that. Rest of S is pretty much fine. Vamana's here because it's easy for him to get objectives, and if he gets your Phoenix, your Titan's almost certainly dead. So I'm not going to move him, especially since he's been buffed again, so he stays there. Wait, down to S- tier. Haven't touched these in a long time. I'd say these gods are pretty even here. I don't think there's a lot of changes. Arachne, I think, moves down a bit. Again, that's a performance thing. It's not there. She's not in as good of a position now as she was. It's very hard for her to get into a position where she can actually win a game, because that's usually an extremely late game scenario that isn't going to happen in time for her to overcome most matchups. I don't see a lot else that needs to be changed in that tier right now. I think I'd keep that where it is. These gods can basically stay the same. Bastet performing slightly better after her rework. Gives her just a little bit more damage, just a little bit. It's probably enough to get her up into another tier. And then everything else in A+, I think, is pretty safe where it is right now. I don't see a whole lot of changes that need to happen there. A tier is a very bizarre tier. We're going to give Heimdall the benefit of the doubt here and move him up into A+. This is a god whose performance doesn't really relate to his ability, I think, at the mode. Heimdall has a pretty high skill cap, and his late game is really good if you can get there. It's tough to get through the early in some matchups, but he does have a lot of damage potential. So we'll go ahead and move him to A+. This god that we can't name, slightly better. I think I'd actually put her here. Put her behind Loki. Should be a good spot for the goddess magic there. Performance that her increased performance I haven't taken into account yet, but I haven't updated this dual tier list in a bit, so didn't fully take advantage of that. Way back into A. I think Guan Yu has slightly improved lately too, especially in Conquest. He's actually a really good solo lane pick right now, because he's good at fighting Tyr and King Arthur, and actually Camazotz to an extent, who has gotten really popular in the solo lane right now. So Guan Yu gets a slight upgrade. I think the rest of these gods are fine. With like Khan is good in Conquest right now, but his mobility is really bad, and his abilities can be hard to hit. Serket doesn't do anything. Neither does Sun Wukong. Discordia's health pool is really low. He makes her very easy for assassins to kill, etc. I think pretty much anything that's here or lower is probably going to stay. Alright. Odin gets a big upgrade, I'd say. We'll have to move him up here into A+. In terms of Duel, he's not going to see a big upgrade from that rework. It's obviously going to make him significantly more viable now that he has an ability he can still use without having to full commit to everything. Gives him a lot more playability than he used to have. I think Morgan's performance has slightly improved. I never gave her much credit, necessarily. The ultimate can be pretty useful, but you have to use it in very specific ways to be able to be viable in duel. Because really all you're looking for is to poke someone with Morgan and then use the ult to finish them off with their own kit. That's the general strategy. And that's very situational, and usually if the Morgan gets caught, you're going to try to ult, and by the time you do that, you're probably just going to die from it because it takes too much time to do all that. It's your main limitation in duel. I think we'll give Fafnir a slight upgrade too, for the fact that he does have high DPS potential. And I think some of the new items work in his favor pretty well, so he'll get a very slight upgrade there. And moving on, in A-, I don't think any of these gods improve at all in duel. B tier, they don't, and then down here they definitely don't. And the only thing left for us to do is talk about where Heimdall goes. And where does he go, you might be saying. Well, in fact, he goes down here with the top S tier boys. Let's put him in between Poseidon and Vulcan. I think that's a good spot for him. So, yeah, Heimdall, he's pretty good overall, but his attack speed is kind of slow. You can avoid it. His abilities don't fully protect him. Especially since I think they're nerfing part of his too. I don't remember if it was the knock-up or the knock-up immunity on it. Which, if it's knock-up, that's a significant nerf to him. It's going to make it a lot harder for him to be safe. But the main thing is, he's really only got one ability that does significant damage, and that's his ult. And if you can avoid that somehow, it's very hard for him. It's kind of hard for him to win. High mobility characters are difficult for him to deal with because he doesn't have much mobility himself, unless you can use Bifrost really well, which can be difficult in a tough fight. Especially if you're fighting a god that has some way to disrupt you from that, from being able to teleport through it, then it's really bad. Of course, Mulan's not quite available in ranked. All they've got here is a placeholder anyway, so no point in talking about that. Quick note about things. When we're up here in like S tiers, the order of the gods matters a lot more. So I try my best to place them where I believe they fit in the mode. But, of course, there's always room for interpretation with that. And then as you get down here, the order that they're placed in tends to matter less, because you don't get as many, when you get in the lower tiers, you don't have as many clear-cut situational matchups that tell you this god is definitively better than this one. That happens more often in the higher tiers because the gods are picked more often and you can figure out better where they fit in with each other and all that. Anyway, that's going to do it for the Season 7 Duel Tier List. Update that to say it. And thanks everybody for watching today. Let me know what you think about the tier list. Let me know if you think it could be improved in some way. As always, check the helpful links down in the description. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time for some more Smite. Have a good one.